Hello, good evening. We've got a bit of stuff to talk about, so we'll do that over here. Bitcoin is current price at 105. A bit of volatility that we have been experiencing within the past couple hours. We got our new pivot levels. Resistance was set at 107,000, and immediately what happened, Bitcoin rose to exactly that, 107,106. So that serves a good as a good resistance right over there. Let me just get my OBS up there. If you're wondering what this is just a bonus position. Don't worry about that. I just decided to enter because why not? And I decided to go long because that's what I'm expecting to happen, is for things to continue rising. I don't think we're going to see this drop. But you never know. Realistically, you honestly never know. Anyways, according to my analysis, we are still in an uptrend. We can maintain ourselves above 100k easily. 101,000 is the invalidation zone that I have. First support level is at 102,000. So it's looking really good, right? Practically triple support you could see here. One from the uptrend, right? The one that's currently active. Next one from first support at 102. Next at super trend 101, psychological level 100, and then 98,800. You could call that 99,000. Realistically, it's like every 1,000 you're getting some good supports. 90, this is almost 98,000. This is practically 97,000. I don't know if you can kind of see that, but it's looking really good. It's not likely that we're going to easily break through all these supports, especially considering the fact that next week is going to be relatively calm in terms of news, economic data, right? Just going to get these Fed speeches, nothing too crazy. The only Fed speech that we should care about is Fed Chair Powell, who will be speaking on Sunday of all days of next week. Today is a Sunday, and surprisingly, yeah, we did get some volatility. Saturday was calm. Nothing happened Saturday. I didn't stream yesterday. But yeah, today we got some volatility, and a lot of people were like, oh, you can't trust that. First, we got this initial pump. We rose from 103,700 to about 105,000. We immediately erased those gains right after. But then again, we tried going for another rise, which we hit 107,000, which if you'll notice, that's the highest point out of our recovery phase. And we're super, super close to this line right over here, 109,952. That is our all-time high level. It's close to this second resistance. I would just clump these two together. Next resistance we're looking at, still coinciding with Fibonacci extension at 112,000. Also coinciding with the third resistance from pivots. Next pivot level 115k. Next one 119k. That's all we have for resistances. And then another fib extension at 122,000. A lot of people have their target set to 135,000. I am kind of expecting that as well, maybe even a little bit higher. There are some other analysis that we'll go through just to confirm that those entries. So yeah, overall, solid outlook for Bitcoin. I do think we'll just continue maintaining our uptrend. I don't see why we could be being pushed down. Like, Bitcoin halving is still having its effect, right? Exchange reserves, we know, are very low. Retail interest is not fully there yet. We're about to break all-time high levels soon. Once we do, inevitably we will. Retail interest will start coming back. FOMO, institutional interest, governmental interest as well. We already are seeing that around the globe. So it's going to be explosive still. I still think we could technically be considered early to the game, but I mean, honestly, had a very long opportunity to buy, like, way before. Right now, I'd be cautious with your entries. You would have to wait until you're in a zone of oversold conditions, which you can check with the RSI and the 4-hour chart. That's at least what I would be paying attention for. Overall, still not a bad outlook for Bitcoin. It was at 105,100 right now. Was at 107,000. It says it's up today 1.77, but if we draw from where it is till what we just reached, this current peak, that's about another, what did I see here, 1%, almost 2%. You could practically say it was up 3%, right? So I think we could easily go back up here, retest this first resistance, and next leg up, of course, only 2.5% away after we break that resistance so that we could reach our all-time high. It'll be great. So keep yourself optimistic for that. Ethereum had a bit of volatility today as well. First of all, dropped to a low of 2,319, which that is still fine, right? This uptrend would get invalidated if it broke below that, but it did not. You can see the rejection from the down movement, which would further signify I think we can continue rising. Sure, we are kind of seeing a bit of a downtrend short term, but I think this is easily breakable, considering first of all, we're at our first support. Second of all, resistance from the pivot right over here, 2,574, can easily be broken, right? And then we go for this first resistance right over here at 2,747 from pivots after we break this one. So it's looking good. Look at these two levels just perfectly coinciding, right? Resistance 3, resistance 1 with the Fibonacci levels that I have drawn. So, okay, in order. First, the pivot level, 2,574. Then resistance 1 and fib, 2,740, we'll call that. Resistance 2, it's on its own, 2,900, you could call that. Next is 3,070. Then 3,002. We're almost at 3,000, honestly. This is looking really good for Ethereum as well. Once Ethereum does cross back up to 3,000, it's going to be explosive for the altcoins as well. We could start seeing a bit of that altcoin interest start coming back into the markets as well. The Bitcoin dominance will start dropping, and things will continue rising from there. The uptrend is still very solid, very far away as well. We could be forming new uptrends soon, I would suppose. And given this drop right over here, I think I could... It's looking like I could draw one either from there or from here. I would go from here. Is this too soon? Probably. I might regret it, but that's what we got for now. And it's kind of keeping in line with this super trend level that we currently have, right? So I think it's appropriate for now at least. And this should be the one that we should be following soon. We shall see. Even if we do continue dropping, sure. Shouldn't see Ethereum below 2,000. We could, right over here. That's perfect for accumulation. And believe me, I will be accumulating by those at that area. So I don't mind either way. If it does drop, I'm prepared for both scenarios. But my outlook right now is positive. Things will continue rising for this week, in my opinion. Solana's at 167. Up 0.29%. Didn't go too high today. It was only Bitcoin really that rose to 107,000 just suddenly. Currently we're tracing down to 104,900. Anyways, back to Solana here. We got our new pivot levels. Support's working fine at 165. Resistance looking fine at 175. Next resistance we have is 186. Then 195 coinciding perfectly there with that resistance and Fibonacci. And same thing over here, right? Oh, could these levels be hit? Possibly, right? We have seen coins break through multiple pivot resistances within a single week, right? We've seen it happen with Sui, we've seen it happen with Bitcoin, and even Ethereum as well. So this is possible, right? Breaking out of 195, easy. Breaking out of 207, and then breaking out of 219, that'll be... Maybe we could slow down, I'd say, by here, because this looks like uncharted territory. I think this is what the outlook is looking like for this week. Now we should require obviously some strong fundamentals to get like this 30% pump that I'm projecting in 1 week, but it is possible, especially if Bitcoin does break its all-time high levels. We have seen this kind of movement before, so it's nothing new. Let's check out the next coin. I did not click that. XRP. All right. Still maintaining its uptrend overall. I wouldn't even call this a formation of a downtrend yet, right? We would have to continue making lows and break this uptrend line in order for us to be considered in a downtrend. Then I would draw a downtrend line from the high point that we saw on 14th of May to around 18th of May today. In terms of pivots, levels, support's looking good at, I think we could move this to 230, right? This super trend should rise up if we do start breaking out of this pivot and start testing 250 for XRP. This should rise up to like approximately this level, right? The super trend, which would keep us in line with the uptrend that we have. That looks good. 250, keep an eye on that. Resistance 1 is looking at possibly like the resistance that you can see right here. I'd call that a zone mainly, right? At 265, 263, approximately there. We got a resistance from Fibonacci at 271, and then 282 pivot resistance. This, you could call it a $3 resistance, a psychological level. Might as well even draw this, because I do feel like that is a valid target for XRP. I think it's about time XRP starts moving upward as well. $3, it deserves it, honestly. Comparing this with SUI, which is at 379, by the way. Yeah, XRP at 238 versus SUI 379. While both were costing the same thing, you get the point, right? Looks like this needs to be readjusted, and I did point this out last time I streamed. I was pretty sure I was expecting this to consolidate a little bit between these two levels, and it kind of did exactly that. But we don't know from where we could readjust this uptrend. Could be from here, right? Could be, but we're not too sure for now, and I think it's too soon to tell, since this is literally just within the last candle. I would usually wait for a couple more candles to go by. Pivot resistance looking really solid at, you could call this $4, right? It's practically $4 resistance, psychological level. It just happens to coincide with pivot and Fibonacci. Next is this resistance from a high that we reached on 12th of May. It's looking at $4.30. I think that was the peak. Yeah, peak SUI from this recovery. Next is looking at 460. And then $5, I would say this is. But what is this? 460, was that our all-time high? No, I'm pretty sure it was 537. Yeah. Still a long way to go, but look at these resistances extending beyond that. It gives the possibility for SUI to possibly rise that high, but I really don't think it's going to. But hey, SUI does tend to surprise, whether that be to the upside or the downside. Mostly to the upside, though, so that's a good thing. In terms of supports, you have to pay attention to opposite as well. Like I said, I mentioned we can still continue dropping until around here. Invalidation is at 340, and it's been that way for the past couple of days, so that hasn't really changed. We do have a couple supports that will help us out. Lowest point, May 15. It's your first support at 365. And then you got Fibonacci support 354. Although these are mainly Fibonacci levels looking for resistances. So whether this would actually work as a support, it's questionable. But it could work nonetheless. And I feel like this still looks appropriate. Maybe. Or maybe this downtrend is broken and I'm being delusional and this is your new downtrend. That could also technically happen. But I do feel like this, it's easily going to be broken due to the steepness of it, right? We were literally just testing that a couple candles ago for our chart. So it's possible for this to be broken. All right, Lycom was literally 100 last time I looked at it a couple minutes ago, but now dropped down to $98.84. We got this little consolidation going on, right? Between 96 and 101. Pivot support is there. First resistance from the high point that we saw, 9th of May and 14th of May. You're looking at 106 approximately. Then the next resistance after that is at 110, 111. Next one is 117. Next one, 123, we could call that. Did I move this? No, it's locked. Good. Supports. So that's the first one that we're currently seeing, 96, as I mentioned. Second support. This uptrend is still valid, so no readjustments would have to be made. And from the looks of it, It's looking at like 89, 90 for support. As this keeps rising, super trend will continue rising to approximately 92. That would be your invalidation zone, I would say. Be cautious about this 92 area, below 92. Maybe a good time to buy. Maybe. Not financial advice. Cardano is 74 cents. I entered another position here in Cardano at 75. Also a sizable amount. Although I probably acted a little too quickly. I did kind of say that I should have waited for 70, 71, approximately this. But I still have a positive outlook nonetheless. First of all, this uptrend is just looking really, really solid. Really solid. This support should not be broken very easily also, by the way. Like 67. I have this drawn for a while, so yeah. In terms of resistances, we already met with one at 76. Next one is at 78. Next one is looking up here at 84, 85. Then we got 92. My target, probably $1. Why? Because I do feel like we could bounce. Unfortunately, bounce. I didn't mean to do that one. I wanted this one at $1. I think a $1 target is reasonable. Maybe a little bit less, and if you're looking for a little bit less, you could aim for something like 98 cents with 762 millicents. I think that's a reasonable target. If not this week, probably next week. Still also looking at a 30% rise. 30% rise for this week. I think it's possible, honestly. Like, what's going to slow it down? You still got a lot of good news, and good news comes out every day. Although it's very minor, and market kind of tends to ignore that kind of stuff. Who knows, man? Wasn't Trump also supposed to visit Xi Jinping? It's probably a question for ChatGPT or something. I don't know. I'll have to check that later. But anyways, this is still looking really good, in my opinion. All right. Let's start talking about some of the news that we have. First of all, I have this in the title. Moody's downgraded the U.S. sovereign credit rating from its top tier AAA to AA1. It's only happened twice before, and this has also caused a bit of uncertainty in the market. Mentioned that both of them led to volatile market reactions. Previously, you'll notice in 2023, Fitch did a downgrade, and then in 2011, the S&P 500, well, I don't know if it's the S&P 500, Standard & Poor's downgrade also mentioned. The reason for their downgrade was persistent large fiscal deficits and rising interest costs, with federal debt projection of 134% of GDP by 2035. Policy uncertainty and concerns about the ability of U.S. policymakers to implement fiscal reforms, escalating U.S. debt, now $36 trillion. Before the downgrade over the last 5 weeks, the market was on a tear as Trump backed down on international tariffs. This is the only, bad news that I was seeing, right? This whole Moody's situation. But given what Bitcoin just did right now, I don't think it's going to be impactful. Like, why would it have to impact Bitcoin specifically? This seems to be a U.S. problem. It should weaken the U.S. dollar, I would think, at least. Well, let's continue reading here. Recent correction stats for QQQ. Okay, I'm not reading that. Market action after prior two downgrades in more detail, including prior market conditions. It's comparing the previous downgrades. Okay. I don't think this is good analysis, honestly. It's I guess it's comparing other stuff, but yeah, it's really comparing the other two. I should have brought another explanation, which I did have. But bottom line is what it said at the beginning there. We're expecting inflation to jump. Stuff like that, right? Which could be a good thing, but also later on be a bad thing. But this is part of the cycle, in my opinion. I did mention before, money printer is inevitable this year. Money printer will happen. What happens with money printer inflation, of course. Some people are saying, oh, tariffs might cause that. Lower interest rates might cause that. Because currently inflation is not that high, admittedly. So that's why Jerome Powell is trying to play it slow as well with the interest rate cuts. He's only planning 2 for this year, and they will happen later in the year. Because if he cuts rates now and then, inflation starts rising, he's going to have to increase interest rates once again. Quantitative tightening, which is not what the market would like to see anyways. And that's just too much of a policy change that I think he would rather not deal with, right? Anyways, consumers expecting inflation to jump to 7.3% over the next 12 months, which is the highest reading in 44 years, apparently. I'm pretty sure this is outpacing COVID, right? It's pretty interesting. And futures market has opened, the indices. S&P 500, NASDAQ, futures are down after Moody's cuts the US debt rating, but it's not as bad as it seems, it looks like, right? These numbers, not that bad. And there's also like a chance that we go green once New York Stock Exchange opens tomorrow morning. I keep thinking it's going to be a holiday. It technically is a holiday tomorrow morning. Well, tomorrow in general. Because Canada will have Victoria Day, but the US doesn't, right? Do they even celebrate anything tomorrow? I don't think so. Markets are still going to be open as normal, and I'll treat it as a normal day, although I'll probably be a little busy, though. Like, I'll visit a friend and stuff like that, so no stream tomorrow. Possibly. What is the US officials' reaction to this whole downgrade in the credit rating? US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent comments on Moody's downgrading in the US credit rating. He says he doesn't put too much credence in Moody's. So, yeah. That's the end of that. No big deal. It says that they dropped their credit rating, which should be a bad thing, but I don't think the market really cares that much. What you should care about is projection of M2 money supply, which it's still on, well, yeah, it's at high levels still. As we saw Bitcoin breaking above 105,000, bears are getting scared. Global N2 shows a rocket move immediately ahead. So you can see this. Bitcoin will likely break into new all-time highs by the end of May, which we are very closely approaching. We're at 18th of May today. It's coming soon, right? I do feel like the next leg up will happen here, either this week or next week. So I'm still poised for upward movement. If we get any downward movement, it's going to be so minimal. Like I don't even know if we'll be getting any oversold conditions, right? Readjustments of uptrends that I have drawn, but like it's looking really good, right? Explosive move coming soon by end of May, according to M2 chart, right? There will be some sideways consolidation for some time, so there will be plenty of time to like reload before the next leg up, and then reloading time. What do you think is going to happen here? This, by the way, is like by August already. And if this chart is to scale indeed, you're looking at Bitcoin being at around 180,000 by August. That seems a little too aggressive in my opinion, but I'm down for it, right? If we go 180k, let's go 180k. I don't know, man. This chart does not look correctly in scale. It's exponential. Like you'll notice this, right? 200k to 100k, like that's half of this image, right? And then the other half, it only goes down to 50k. So I don't know. I feel like this might be a little biased, a little too bullish, but still the movement is upwards, and that's all that really matters. Whether we top out at 180,000 by August, or we top out at 135,000. That's where I would think to see Bitcoin at by August, maybe 135,000. But like 180,000, 200,000 by like end of this year, I do feel like we could see that still. Who knows? Maybe this guy knows. We're back at it again with these Bitcoin whales accumulating or just entering these crazy massive trades. 40x position with $390 million. Liquidation price 96,000 for Bitcoin. Why would somebody be willing to risk that much money? Maybe he knows something. And it's been reinforcing and it's been going around everywhere. You could check it on like different decentralized exchanged scanners. So, yeah. You know who else is ready to buy more? Michael Saylor says, never short a man who buys orange ink by the barrel. Every time he posts this chart, especially on a Sunday, tomorrow guaranteed, you're going to see a post that Michael Saylor just bought millions of dollars in Bitcoin. Like, no big deal. We're not to also forget about these guys, the ETFs themselves. I haven't checked them for the previous week, but it seems like majority was inflows, right? A couple $1 million with inflows. Only one day there was no inflows except for an outflow from Fidelity, 91 million. But the rest is like 300 million inflow in total, 114 million, 260 million. The ETFs are starting to accumulate again at these high prices, by the way, at about Bitcoin 100K plus, right? I personally would not buy Bitcoin at 100,000 plus. I do try to buy like when it's cheaper, but yeah, I don't feel like I would be that kind of person to buy Bitcoin at that price. For now, I'm just holding on and waiting for that ride to continue well into August. That's when I'd start maybe considering taking some profits. Who knows? Trump coin, remember he was inviting a lot of people, well, the top 220 holders for a nice dinner. 12 days left until that happens. He's saying President Trump is allowing one more person to attend dinner with Trump. He wants something special. Retweet and reply to this with your best Trump meme. Our favorite Trump memes will be shown to President Trump, and we will pick one Wait, are you serious? I didn't realize that. I didn't read the second half. Okay. I thought it was just like a general reminder, by the way. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to have to come up with a good Trump meme. Retweet and reply with your best Trump meme. All right. This is the official Trump Twitter account, right? I'm not crazy. Like, this is no scam. No, it is the real Trump meme Twitter account. Okay. And he's choosing someone by tomorrow. Said that 1 hour ago. Let us know your favorite Trump meme or submit one now. Oh, I have to just let them know what the favorite Trump meme is? Okay, cool. Easy. I could just steal one. There are some that I really like. There's plenty to choose from. Okay. This is pretty interesting. I might have to just save this for later. I will go back to this. Okay. Maybe I'll do this live. I don't even know. I don't want to go through Trump memes live. It's gonna be some of it's just gonna be cringy. Whatever. This is also important. Ethereum Golden Cross has been confirmed. This is with moving averages, simple moving averages, 50 and 200. Is this daily chart? I hope it's daily chart. 12 hours? That's not the daily chart. All right, never mind. Liars. Go to Ethereum here. Daily chart. Do I not have moving averages? I guess I don't. I do on TradingView. Let me go to TradingView. I don't want to set it all up again here, so that's why. ETH us data. There we go. Daily chart. Not these moving averages. Simple ones. Take out exponential. No, never mind. We don't necessarily have a golden cross. We do in the 12-hour chart, but this is kind of flipping upwards a little bit, right? We're going to have one soon, I would say. Yeah, maybe by end of this week, between 150. But the 200 one, we still have to, have this pushed well far above 2,700, which is currently meeting that as a resistance, right? All right. Well, we'll see. Golden Cross will be coming soon, though. This is good for Ethereum. Gas prices dropping to 10 cents. I actually don't know if that's really that good. Some people are saying it is bearish because that means that there's not enough network or traffic going through. But I still feel like Ethereum, it's not to say popular enough, but just more used than it's the biggest L2 that's out there, right? The chain it's beating all other chains just because of what it is, really, right? It's old and it's what everybody practically uses. Although we know some people are already changing blockchains to like Solana, stuff like that, moving away from Ethereum for services that are faster and cheaper. But Ethereum is still there, right? All right. I mean, it still is good, right? The fees part was very annoying for me with Ethereum, and seeing it drop like this, I guess it's fine. Whether that means low network traffic or them just genuinely improving the blockchain, right? Still, I think it should be taken as good news. Vitalik Buterin also connects with Chinese developers to discuss Ethereum's future development. Whether you believe it or not, I think China will start adopting crypto in general. I can't wait for that arms race to happen between the US and China for who will get the most Bitcoins. Man, that will be explosive growth. Once China wakes up and realizes the importance of it, and I'm hoping Vitalik can talk some sense into these Chinese developers who will then talk to their Chinese officials and then ultimately to Xi Jinping. And, so we'll see what they do. Could be cool. When alt season. So during the bull market, liquidity flows from Bitcoin to the altcoins once Bitcoin tops out, which we're not at a Bitcoin top yet. We can see that with the M2 money supply. There's still a lot of economic factors that are pushing things much higher. Things such as rate cuts that we're expecting here. And just Bitcoin's nature, its cyclical nature, it's still not fully carried out yet, right? So Bitcoin has to make its top. Then from there, without Bitcoin pumping, there is no alt pumping. That's why you should always focus on Bitcoin chart first. You can derive the rest from it. During bear markets, alts drop more than Bitcoin, and they recover less than Bitcoin on each relief rally. That is also true. Just take a look at stuff like Cardano or XRP, for example. It really depends on which part of the cycle we're in, but alts are beta to Bitcoin, so you should always pay attention to Bitcoin first, and Bitcoin still has a long way to go based off of our projections. So, altcoin season will be coming after that. JP Morgan apparently believes it is unlikely we'll see another correction. And right now, all markets, are poised to retest all-time highs soon. They mainly talk about stuff like the S&P 500 or NASDAQ. I'm looking at Bitcoin here, and I do think, corrections, we're not going to have any significant corrections. Next move is retesting all-time high. 4% away from that right now, which is absolutely doable even in a day. Who knows how we'll see the US stock market open tomorrow. Right now, Asian markets open. It seems like they took some profits. I would assume as to why we're seeing this drop, because everything was rising beforehand once futures opened, right? I'm talking for Bitcoin specifically. Futures may not have been rising, but futures market opened, Bitcoin was rising. Chinese Asian market opened, Bitcoin starts dropping again, but it's slowed down over here. We'll see what's next. New UK regulations. This sucks, by the way. There's a mandate reporting all crypto transactions by 2026 need to be given. Firms must report sender and recipient names, addresses, tax IDs, and full trade details such as the token type, quantity, pound value, and timestamp. And non-compliance may incur fines up to £300 per user. Honestly, if you're doing tax avoidance, it's worth the £300. Not saying that you should do that. You should always pay your taxes, but yeah. Nice. Well, not nice. Sucks if you live in the UK. I don't know. They just seem to want to centralize everything, right? The whole point of crypto is to be decentralized, right? To not have to depend on banks or governments, none of that. But you know, whatever. They do what they want. Um, CEO of United Health, a new one, Stephen Hemsley, bought $25 million worth of the United Health stock on Friday. I've talked about United Health a lot. It is at very low levels. And I mean, this should probably be a bottom indicator, right? The fact that the CEO himself is buying a lot of his own stock. He is the latest of multiple insiders to begin buying shares amid the historic decline. I also shared that there was like 350 million or something like that worth of insider purchases on United Health stock. So what does it really tell you? If insiders are buying here, they're expecting that thing to rise. So I also have a positive outlook for United Health. I think that could have been bottom, honestly. That might have been bottom. We'll see how we open up on Monday. We're out of the oversold zone. Looking good so far. Momentum shift, hopefully. Walmart also being a little cheeky. They're planning to raise their prices and blame it on tariffs, kind of thing. And Trump heard about this and got upset. Walmart was saying stuff like, "Oh, we'll try our best to keep prices low, but if you see them start rising, you know who to blame, right?" Trump says that Walmart has made billions of dollars last year, far more than expected. Between Walmart and China, they should, as I said, eat the tariffs and not charge valued customers anything. I'll be watching, and so will your customers, says Donald Trump. So he's saying you better not raise those prices that you have at Walmart and blame it on tariffs, because that is not cool. And so, yeah. Good for him to regulate that stuff. Otherwise, those guys will get out of control with raising that stuff. And also, Trump does not want to see inflation, or people believe it is at least, inflation on the rise, especially when he wants Federal Chairman Jerome Powell to start cutting those interest rates. Carney reaffirms Canadian support for Ukraine. He's met with Zelensky for the first time. Great. That's just what we needed. They should just end the war, honestly. And Canada Post, that's the postal service here in Canada, they're probably going bankrupt, facing an existential crisis. It's effectively insolvent or bankrupt. Without the Government of Canada loan or line of credit, it would not at some time in 2025 have been able to meet its payroll, which, concerning for Canada. Anyway, moving on. Telegram CEO Pavel Durov, remember this guy? He announced that they received a request from the French government, of course it was the French, to silence conservative voices in Romania. If you don't know, Romania just had their elections again after, I think last year they were blaming Russian interference. So they had a new election, and I don't know, according to Tristan Tate, a little bit that I saw, the party that he wanted to win did not win. So, you know, maybe Tate's leave Romania. It was a centrist government, I think. He wanted the far right one to win. Something like that. I'm not caught up with Romanian politics, but the French was also trying to influence a bit of the outcome there, it seems like, by making Pavel Durov censor conservative voices in Romania. They wanted the left side to win. Of course they do. And yeah, I guess the French is already kind of notorious. There's a bit of bad blood between the French and this guy, CEO of Telegram, Pavel Durov. Especially if you were there while I was suffering with Toncoin last year. Huge drops. I mean, I've made some money, but I think I got liquidated more than what I've gained, honestly, on that coin. It had a great rise, but I guess I entered by FOMO and ended up losing, so not anymore. Not going to touch it anymore. Here's a scam to be aware of. I'm not going to read all of it because it's a long story, but bottom line, if you had Ledger wallets, cold storage wallets, since as far back as 2020. You might receive this in the mail because apparently they did get hacked and they have a bit of customer information. So they will send you a new Ledger wallet, apparently. This is from hackers, by the way, but they're disguising themselves as the official Ledger company, and stating things like, hey, there was a security breach or something like that, and you gotta set up your new device. So when you go plug this into your new computer, it literally is a very similar device to the Ledger cold wallets. You put in your seed phrase, and then the hacker receives that information. The hacker uses your seed phrase that they now have. It's kind of like phishing, and they steal all your crypto. So just watch out for that. Nice. The hackers and scammers are evolving just backwards. All right. And yeah, that's all the news I had to cover for today. So that'll be all. Thanks, guys, so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for the 400 subscribers. It's going great. I'll see you probably Wednesday. Probably. Yeah. And we'll see whether or not it was right about all-time high levels again. Be careful. Take some profits. Don't take too much profits. Take profits early. Whatever. I don't know. I'm not your financial advisor. Do what you want with your money. If it drops, let it drop. I'm willing to buy more. All right. Take care. Bye. End stream.